Protection Agency to order and invite you to join us in the salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rachel, as speakers on, they don't sound it. Can you hear me out there? I don't know, it doesn't sound as loud as it generally does. Okay, well, I guess it is, okay. In case of fire, there are two ways to exit the chambers. To my left, you'd exit through the two council chamber doors, turn left, walk down one flight of stairs and outside of the building. Perhaps the best way to exit the chambers is through the rear doors. In either case, please, once you're outside of the building, walk a safe distance away from the building. Secretary, please take the roll of the Aquifer Protection Agency.
Charles Duran.
Present.
Elizabeth Ballard.
Here.
Peter Falk here. Kathleen Sarno. Lori Longi. Nicholas Lefakis. Charles Ladd. Ronald Gregory.
Here.
Alan Drynan.
Here.
Dominic Limo.
Commissioner Drynan and Gregory will be sitting in for the absent commissioners. Approval of minutes of April 18th, which was the last meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's made to approve the, any additions, errors, or omissions? Hearing none, all in favor? 500. By the way, just after the meeting we had the other night, and I noticed sometimes we do and sometimes we don't, we should be carrying who votes where. In other words, you should be carrying the fours, the abstentions, and the noes.
In the minutes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And they haven't been. I'll note that also when we get to the P&C.
I don't have an original here to sign either.
Okay, we can get you that.
Okay. Any staff reports?
Not an aquifer protection.
Have you had any chance to check any of the records back?
Haven't.
Would you, if you have a chance, because I don't know, and we had several questions that are noted in the minutes. He was going to get back to us on things. Did letters go out? He's on the renewals because they were supposed to have gone out, and I don't really know if they did or if we. I just feel bad for some of these people if they don't realize that their applications had to be renewed. And
Do you know
They
what
were-
month they've gone out in the past?
Oh, this is the
he
first
said, on the first page, it said he was working to get them done in the month of April.
Okay.
I never had a report back. And then we talked about fees.
I apologize.
And then there was a question that I asked them if they'd put it up on the website that they had to re-register to ask them, and he said it wasn't, but it was in the regulations, and he was going to try to get it up. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know if it ever was done, and if not, we should probably get those people in and be, I don't know what the state regulations are, but they shouldn't be charged for our switchover or any of our mistakes, or they shouldn't lose their registration.
Right.
Because according to, I guess, the law, as I recall, if it lapses, that means their property could no longer hold whatever it was they were doing that wouldn't be allowed now, like gasoline stations and whatever else they were doing. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you can check it and see what's been done, if anything, or if people had renewed. He states, by a quick question from Lori, that there were about 50 So I just think it's only fair if you have somebody that could check it out.
Yeah, we'll look into, maybe for the next meeting, where we are on,
Well, maybe don't wait till the next quarter, just see what you can do.
Yeah, we'll try and
for
get it
these
done.
people.
as quickly as possible.
You can follow what's in the minutes here, of what we asked, and see if any of it was done.
So I know Ginny mentioned that there was a month every year where he was doing it, so I have to look into when that was.
Okay, but they were all, I think they were supposed to be done,
Okay.
come due on a certain date or something.
Right, so if it was April, then we're still okay for this year, if they did go out.
Well, no, they were supposed to come back in, I thought, or they had so many weeks to reply. I don't
Okay.
know what the regulations.
So we need to find out and then follow up to make sure everyone has
Okay.
renewed.
Another thing that should be in your file for the aquifer protection material, they got it mailed to me. I don't think the rest of you received it, and that was what I wanted you to look at today.
Should we do public participation first?
Oh, yeah, well, okay, I'm sorry. Staff reports, they'll take care of that unless you have something else.
No.
Okay, at this point in the meeting, the chair or the commission would, if anyone has anything that is not before the commission or anything that's not on the agenda, would like to address the Aquifer Protection Agency, if they'd come forward at this time. Aquifer Protection Agency, is that, okay.
Marty, is your question aquifer protection?
This isn't P and Z.
Pardon me?
This isn't the planning and zoning. This is Aquifer
Aquifer?
Protection, yeah.
We'll come back again.
We'll be back. This is the other hat. Okay, I was hearing
Karen.
then. Oh, Karen, okay, Karen. Well, maybe Karen can fill us in if the letters went out. Should probably have received one. I didn't see your hand, but
I didn't put it up when you looked up.
okay.
Karen LaPlante, 166 North Maple Street, Enfield. I went on the website today, the town's website, and I noticed that there were minutes for the July 11th meeting. And I think those were the minutes you were supposed to be approving, because if you look in the July 11th meeting minutes, you had already approved the April 18th meeting minutes, and that's probably why you don't have a copy, because they've already been approved. But the July meeting, again, that was Jose's last meeting, and he was going to do a whole bunch of things from the previous April one and the July one, and I don't believe any of that got done.
Well, I don't even have the July one to accept.
The last thing we found was an April, apologies.
These were under aquifer protection in the minutes on the
Okay.
website.
They were, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know how we missed that.
Well,
So that
We'll-
apparently was the last meeting.
Okay.
But, you know, I don't know if you formally decided that you were going to waive all the fees, or do we have to ask to waive the fees?
he
But
was going to find out.
I think you need to get these notices out as soon as possible, because I believe it's been almost a year.
Yeah,
And
I
it's
know.
the 5 years. It's been the 5 years, and you only have a year to renew. And most
why I
people,
said- yes, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Ballard had asked that Jose send letters out in the first year of the 5 years to acknowledge everybody that was registered.
Yep.
And that never happened.
Yep.
So nobody knows the registration numbers, which also have to
I
be
think you
put on
raised
the
that at a
application.
meeting, didn't you? You raised that you didn't know yours.
Right.
I don't
Right,
know if
and I
it's
did
the-
ask Jose before he left to send me mine. I just haven't done anything with it yet, because I wasn't sure if I needed to pay a fee or what the problem was.
Oh, that's in this one,
But,
right.
and I wasn't sure when you were going to have another meeting, so I didn't want to just call a meeting for me, but I thought if the letters had gone out, other people, but I don't know of anybody that got a letter.
Well, we had enough problems working into P and Z, and
Right.
then I know. that
And there's
this-
been a learning curve, you know, you've been swamped and everything, but
Maybe if we have a
these
problem, as soon as
expire.
you can correct
Yeah.
it, if you
and
could.
they can't do anything. They can't come in and re-register. I mean, they can't come in, once it's gone, it's gone.
So it needs to be dealt with
It
immediately.
needs to
Oh,
be
yeah,
dealt with.
and
Okay.
this is what I said, we've got to find out legally, if it's our fault, they should not be penalized.
And
That all should have been done a long time ago. But this again is, you're shorthanded up there. Like we said to you at the last meeting, Rachel, you can't do everything by yourself.
Yeah. And
Now,
so,
if that's the only place online that you can get the minutes, because we don't even have them, we need
We need
as
the new
soon as you
minutes.
get it together, is have another meeting of the aquifer,
We'll
not
call
wait
together.
a quarter, because this is too
Right.
important for these
Right.
people.
right, and the letter has to say that they need to come in at the
Promptly.
very next aquifer, and maybe even figure out when that is and put that in the letter, put their registration number on the letter, and go back to the minutes of the 18th, April and July meetings, and you'll get some ideas on what was said, but it's real
okay.
important, we can't drop the ball on this.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm glad you were here to tell us that you hadn't gotten the registration number.
And if you're going to waive the fees, either make it clear in the letter or whatever, because it would be helpful to know that in
I
advance.
think we were talking about that in the April 18th. I don't know what it says in the July,
Yeah.
because we
You were asking Jose to check it out, and he didn't really have an answer for you, I believe.
No, that,
is what
on the
happened.
April 18th, he didn't. I don't know what he
Right on
says.
that third page, Charlie,
Yep.
Yep.
it's got it right at the top of the page about the permits and the re-registering and
Remember,
fees and all.
Moody Road came in, 7 Moody Road came in, and one party came in and re-registered at that July meeting. And you did waive the fee for him. So,
All right, well,
so there's only one of the original that came back in and re-registered at this point.
And they need to come to the meeting to re-register?
The commission is allowed to ask him questions.
Okay.
I
I
would,
believe that's what they did, so I don't know what else the procedure is.
Yeah.
Because it was all brand new the first time we did it,
I see.
and there was quite a learning curve. And then this is the second time, because it's a 5-year permit. So, thank you.
I would suggest that that on the agendas for our next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, that we continue to carry that meeting will follow an aquifer protection agency. I mean, in other words, keep
Put it
the
on the next-
aquifer on every agenda for
Until
planning and
we get this
zoning until we
resolved.
resolve the issues.
The rest of the commissioners agree with that?
Sure.
Okay, I think you better.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people, and I don't know if we would run into state law would supersede us if they lapse, if they've messed them up. Karen was here too. I think Hawthorne is in on this, isn't he? Yes, that's what I thought. And there's quite a lot, and there's several down in the valley, aren't there?
Powder Hollow.
Powder Hollow. So, I don't know who you got up there you could put on and find out where all this is at.
We'll keep it moving.
Okay.
Yeah. That's on the next agenda. Well,
Anyone else would like to address the commission on the aquifer protection? Last call. Okay. Thank you for Karen. Karen keeps us on our toes because she's always here for the aquifer protection, thank goodness.
It's true.
New business is a discussion of the DEP. I don't know, I guess this is DEP's way of keeping records, but I thought you all should have this to see what is contaminated or potentially contaminated sites in the town. It is on the Connecticut State website, lists all the towns in the state of Connecticut. However, you get, for example, on some of them, it'll give you the date of investigation started, remediation started, but then some it'll tell you it doesn't say anything, so you don't know what's happening. I don't know if that's an example of the state's record keeping too, or if we could ever find out. But it does tell you that there are storage tanks and where there is remediation, but here's like it'll tell you investigation started in 2006, but then it doesn't say anything else. If they started an investigation in 2006, they sure should have come up with something. But I don't know how we can find out. But this goes along with aquifer protection, because when we have an application comes in that's on an aquifer, and the last one that I can recall is the town itself when they wanted to open their workshop in back of the Hazardville Institute. It was called to our attention. They were on top of an aquifer and what were they using. So this sort of gives you an idea of some of the locations that if they should come in, you might want to ask about.
Yeah, Charlie, I just want to point out, a lot of these do say, the ones that don't have any dates, some of them do say completed. So I think what we might do is try and parse out which ones are actively being investigated, because a lot of them, some say some of the ones that don't have any dates next to them, some say pending,
Yep.
and some say completed, so it's a little hard to tell from their table.
Yeah, it is. Really, basically, all you have is a list of names and addresses. You have a place that's across the street's no longer the company that's listed. That's on page 314 of 372, which is down the way, but it's across the street anyway. And it said investigation started 2005, and then again it was started in 2008, and remediation started in 2011, but I didn't even know something was going on over there. So it's just something to keep your eye on. Any discussion? I thought you'd be interested in it.
Yeah, I think.
How would we track it, though? That's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, right now what I'm thinking is at least keep this list up at the front with all of our other lists, so that when we're helping someone research a property, when they first come in with that initial, I'm thinking of doing something question, that this is there as a place to check, in addition to our zoning history and looking
Right,
through the GIS, because we do that when someone comes in, and we walk them through, this is, you might have wetlands, you've got this much coverage, et cetera. So we could have this at least at the counter for that resource.
But is there any way to put it in the record so you don't have to run through this particular thing to tie them together?
Yeah, I'll talk to Rob. We've been doing some work with GIS in the last couple days. So hopefully maybe there's a way we can tie it there and add a new layer to our GIS. It might be possible. It might take a little time to get it set up. But that way, when you pull up the GIS, you look through and you see what are the wet soils, et cetera, and then this list could be there as potentially contaminated site, so that when a developer looks at a property, they at least know what they might be getting themselves into.
Same with the aquifer protection list once we get it.
Yeah, exactly. That both of those should probably be in our GIS system.
I don't think we ever had a list of those that registered. He had them upstairs, but we as an agency never had the ones that registered. You had somebody that had asked you questions from down in the valley there. You had somebody, a businessman.
Mr. Daigle.
Yeah.
And they're registered properties, correct? Or registered uses?
Registered, what's I have to go to Karen. Registered uses.
Okay.
On the property.
Right.
In other words, if they came in today, we could not allow them to do what they're doing.
Right.
For example, gas stations would be out.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a whole list of other things that aren't allowed.
Yeah. Because I'm not sure if that's another one that we need to look into, is whether or not those are showing up when we do a search for approval history. Because I'm not sure that they are, but it might also be that we just haven't had a property come up.
They were never tied in. As I say, it was all new to us when the state passed the regulations and they ended up with the planning and zoning. Some of us thought it should be with wetlands, but we ended up with aquifer protection. And then this all came along, that these people that were doing these businesses that were thought of as non-uses for above the aquifer should have to register, and they could keep doing whatever they were doing as long as they were registered.
Re-registering properly.
Right. But if it should change use, even for a short period of time, or change use, then that could no longer be done.
Okay. So at least, because we're going to do this next week, so we'll definitely work on getting that list of who everybody is and try and figure out some of this information before the next meeting.
Yeah, okay,
Because we need to know what the time frame we're looking at is, and
I know it,
yeah.
okay. Thank you very much.
I mean, a lot of these, they go back to 2004, where an investigation was started, and then it's no completion, no.
But we're,
It says what the status is right now.
but we're responsible.
I understand that.
Yeah, I know. But I guess that's a state record. I don't know if the state has anything better, but they send this out, and I don't know. I don't know if you'd have to call up case by case. You're right, Ron. I don't know. If you would call up on that one and say you started it in 204, what's the story?
Yeah, well, that's it. I mean, it goes back and it goes back it's Dagenberg, all right, but now it's
Yep,
Eppendahl
right. And I noticed some of these on here say that,
transferred and
Right.
property transferred.
yep, I don't know what that means.
There's 2 or 3 of them there for Lego systems, too.
Yeah, because
It is-
they've subdivided that property since.
There's one there for my street, and what they have down is underground tanks. It's not true, because what it was if you have an oil tank, and years ago they used to run the copper pipe under the cement.
Right.
Well, the cement acting with the copper pipe dissolves or
Right.
puts a hole in it, and that's what it was. Or that's what I was told by the people who were investigating it. And that doesn't say anything, but that was, as far as I know, was
When I
close.
replaced my oil tank in my basement, I mean, they had to put it above
Yeah.
the cement.
Right, that's what they did with mine. Mine fortunately wasn't leaking, but I think there were others on the street somewhere that it was. But anyway, yeah, you're right, and I don't know what you do about those. But at least it gives us a reference. We can, if
Yeah.
we have the properties, and if there's some way that we can tie them together, it helps. It's a start. Anything else? Under new business, discussion of Connecticut, well, that's what we did. Any, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's made to adjourn. All in favor? It's unanimous. 500. I have to keep count of who's who. Yeah, okay. We call a meeting of the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission. Will the secretary please take the roll?
Charles Durin,
Present.
Elizabeth Ballard.
Here.
Peter Falk here. Kathleen Sarno, absent. Lori Longy, absent. Nicholas Lefakis, absent. Charles Ladd, absent. Ronald Gregory.
Present.
Alan Drynan.
Here.
Dominic Alamo, absent.
Commissioners Drynan and Gregory will be sitting in for the absent commissioners. Approval of minutes, December 12th.
We have received those, and they will be available for the next.
You have
We
received them?
have received them,
Oh,
just in the last couple days.
okay, wonderful.
They'll be here.
Okay. Moving along then, February 6th.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Motion's made to approve and seconded. Discussion. Rachel, I have no idea why we would switch to this form when we'd worked so long to get the minutes the way we wanted them, which was the way we had been getting them. And who made the decision, I don't know, because I wasn't involved and none of the commission was involved in making this determination.
Also, at the meeting we had last week, we had a presentation about freedom of information. I asked the town attorney about the advisability of having verbatim transcripts without the presence of the person that would be transcribing, and he said it's not a good idea, that we should really have somebody present. There are many reasons for this, one of which, to name one, is when we have votes and we have a show of hands, you can't hear a hand raise. And so the person who's transcribing based upon listening to a tape can't see who's voting. And oftentimes the camera isn't even on all of us. So if they were to listen and watch the video, they might not see who's voting. So I think based upon the advice of the town attorney, we might want to consider going back to having someone present who's taking notes, and then the notes needn't be 80 pages. A summary would suffice.
I spent hours just going through these, trying to make some corrections, which there were errors. For example, where the transcriber trails off because she couldn't either hear or didn't understand, or my mic or somebody's microphone wasn't on.
She put period, dots.
That's where you trail off, yes.
You know,
There's also, for example, the fire evacuation announcement. She puts the whole thing in. That's really stupid. It's foolish. All you got to do is say the chairman made the fire evacuation notice. You don't need everything I read. It's the same way that she does on when I invite people to come up. She puts in everything. All you have to do is say they were asked, sometimes she slights, like she'll put inaudible. It's really ancient history. When I probably was a young kid, we had transcriptions because the girl sat down there. She was a legal transcriber from I guess daytime she worked for the court. And she transcribed the whole meeting. We did away with that, and we went to the type of minutes that we were producing up until 3 or 4 meetings ago. We don't really need these for us. Yes, if it's a court case, but how many we had?
Not many.
And if you need them for the court, and a lot of times they haven't, as far as I've known, they've accepted our other minutes. But you also have, if the court wanted, which is better, even the tapes. But these are really ridiculous, even the yes, and I myself, I'm not going to vote to accept them. Down below, it's there's words list out.
Page 7.
When you talk about also verbatim transcripts and their usefulness in court, there's a disadvantage to verbatim transcripts if it were to be in court, because whole sections get left out that someone who is sitting here could fill in the summary. But if they're missing here, that leaves it open to a misinterpretation if there's an appeal of a decision in court. So was there a reason? What are the reasons in favor of doing this? Because I can only see negatives.
The reason in favor of how we ended up with this company is that they guaranteed an on-time delivery. That was the issue we've been having for months. And they're a transcription service, and we were at the point where our minutes were so detailed that they were nearing a transcript. So working with a professional team seemed to be a good decision. Now, I'm understanding from the commission that this is not the way we want to continue.
No, there's too many
Absolutely
disadvantages.
not.
I mean,
And I'll be meeting with Courtney on Tuesday, and I will absolutely be taking this to her, and we'll see where it goes from. What we can do from there.
For example, one of the things down here is on I don't know, second, well, they're the 20th. Page 27 is an example. You've got down about in the middle, Commissioner Laurie, we're talking, this is actually a better one because it's bigger. She has no idea what we're talking about, and it's the maps that you had. And this isn't, anybody coming in, if the person was here, they probably would have put a discussion about the maps.
Right.
On the back end of these, which was another ridiculous, before we were discussing, this is on the back end, I shouldn't be talking about those until later, but we got into discussion of the minutes. We were talking about adding, we're talking about all the applications to be received, and then we were discussing where it was or what it was, the last part. We don't need all that.
Right.
I mean, it's excessive. If
Okay.
somebody wanted to know it, it's okay, but you could again say a discussion was held on,
So we'll.
but I don't know
We
how
can
many trees you
change.
killed for these two sections of minutes.
I mean, over the last few years, we've had recording secretaries present here, and we have not had a problem with the minutes being late. So I don't understand why that was the reason to change, because it was working fine. If all of a sudden it didn't work fine, then I think the source of the problem may be elsewhere, besides whether or not you have a recording secretary or a distance transcription from someone who's not in the room.
I'll take it to Courtney. I mean, that's
Again, just
all it has to.
with,
That's the next step.
There's one section here, and this is on the one, just to kill it a little bit more. On the minutes of February 6th, there's several pages that I don't even know what we're discussing now. Applications to be received. And that also is this one, it starts on applications to be received starts on page 30, and it goes up to 38. So we got 8 pages on the discussions of applications to be received. Some of it says it's inaudible, some trails off with dots.
So I'll let Courtney know you want to move in a different direction.
A discussion was held on such and such a thing.
The way we were doing it was fine.
I know, there was
Suggest
no
that.
problem.
It was just that we understood that the problem was that we weren't getting minutes on time.
Unless they're fixed.
So,
Was there a problem getting the secretaries?
Well, that seems to be.
I know.
I'm not sure. I'll have to talk to Courtney and I'll
I
let her know the
think-
commission's opinion on going back
She's
to a
gonna
format
see.
we had before, and
I think the minutes that we approved from the last time, would be January, I think. I think the girl was here. And I think the group accepted them. They didn't
the January
seem to be
16th
too
was
bad.
the first without.
I'm sorry?
The January meeting was the first with this company.
Right. But, you're right, but there was a woman that sat here.
There was, yes.
And those minutes were much better because she didn't have the yas and she didn't put in all this other stuff that really you don't need.
And she could see hands raised, which you can't hear. So, I mean, I think the critical thing is you need someone in the room. Whether they're doing verbatim transcription or not, we can modify that, we can adjust that as we go along, or whether the summary is too detailed or not detailed enough, we can deal with, but we need somebody in the room.
I mean, my thinking is that we were getting to the point where part of it's, I don't know how to say this, but our meetings were getting very long, and that basically I think what I see is what we need to solve is that no matter what time constraints there are on the minutes, we need something within those 7 days. Even if we need to amend them extensively afterwards, we need something. is what I understood from Freedom
It's
of
a law.
Information Act.
It's
Right.
a
So if we
law.
don't have, I mean, that's sort of a piece we can tackle, no matter how we move forward.
That's
is-
why I believe on the website, they're posted as a draft until the second meeting when we meet.
When
They
they're-
have to be posted within 7 days as a draft.
Right. So that, I think that will be, I'll take that to Courtney as well, that I think
But
that can solve a lot of this, is that as long as we've got something in,
not this type of thing.
and I know, I'll let her know that as well, that this is not the format, this format is not working for the
I
commission.
spent hours and hours, and I finally gave up trying to correct it. Even, there's absolutely no reason, as I guess Liz said, to put in yes. Maybe we said them.
My feeling is basically the same. I mean, I get to read something here, all right, and then it just leaves you out in left field. I mean, what were we talking about in the first place?
Yes, and then they could
Because-
take care of that. And by law, and with the person here, they used to put down, and it has to be there, who voted yes and who voted no and who abstained. And as Al said, without them being here, they can't tell, because I just announced the numbers, and the person always wrote down, because we have our signboards, who did. And in fact, if she didn't know, she asked us to stop and who voted how.
So
I'll be
we'll
frank,
fix it.
I'm a lot less likely to read for content and for syntax and grammar and anything else an 84-page document than the 22-page documents we were getting before.
So we'll fix it.
Four times what we saw before, and so I just, frankly, I probably won't read them
She's
if they're this
agreeing
long.
I'm telling you, we'll fix it.
He's agreeing.
I get it.
He's got to do something.
I mean, all I can do, the next step is to take it up to the next level and see what the next step is from there.
The next level, as I say,
But
we weren't asked and we weren't involved in any decision-making up there. We have to rely on the people upstairs. But
we tried this
also have
and
to
it's
accept
working.
these, and there really are minutes. Somehow we should have, I thought, been involved in what was going on. The only problem we had was the lateness of getting them.
So we now know that this is not the way to resolve that, and we'll figure
I
out the
think
next
I made
the
it
next
pretty
solution.
clear, or we made it pretty clear several meetings ago, too.
We need to go green, save the environment,
Oh,
stop
yeah, I
killing
mean,
trees.
absolutely. How many, I went through these, and it took me several hours to go through, and I finally quit trying to make corrections.
I did too.
All right, the motion's on the floor. Any further discussion? All in favor of the minutes? Those opposed? Those abstained? One abstention. 4 against. Motion minutes are not accepted.
38
February
pages.
20th. Minutes of February
Can we
20th.
just table that? Because it's the same thing.
Well, you could vote, well, I either
So
either table them or not accept them, either way.
I would make a motion to table these minutes so that they can be put in compliance with what we were asking for.
Second?
Well, either way, they're going to have to come back with new ones.
Yep.
The motion's to table, no discussion. All in favor, tabling, it's unanimous. 5-0-0. Okay. Moving on. Town attorney in writing. Oh, I'm sorry, it isn't.
I don't have anything.
Yes, there is. Town attorney is.
there's another one before that, Charlie.
There's another one before that. Well, Welsh, it says in person, so maybe,
Nope, number 3 on the agenda.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. Item 3, appointment of zoning enforcement officer. You have in front of you the Town of Enfield's zoning enforcement officer description, job description. Gives you quite a lot. And then you have the applicant Tracy Beasley's letter, and then her resume. And as
Okay.
it's before, and you also have references. I did sit in, as I stated before, in on her final interview. And I frankly was quite impressed, and if you've read her resume, you probably are too, so.
I have one concern about the process. We hadn't seen this job description, and now it's kind of water over the dam. But I do notice in the job description, it specifically indicates that the CEO is delegated authority that we have. And under other job functions, though, it lists several other bodies where the CEO is expected to appear or be available, but it doesn't list this commission. And yet
Correct.
this commission is the one body that has specific delegated authority from the state through us to the CEO. So it's just curious as to why the Planning and Zoning Commission isn't listed under the other job functions of bodies that the CEO might attend or could attend.
It's basically that the zoning enforcement officer is your agent, is the commission's agent when it comes to signing off on building permits, home occupations,
Enforcement.
and the
yeah.
enforcement actions. So that's why the commission has to officially appoint the person, because whoever is appointed will be acting on your behalf. When it comes to the evening meetings, the zoning enforcement officer is the liaison to the zoning board of appeals. And she will also be the liaison to the Conservation Commission, where she might attend this commission and will be doing the reports directly to this commission, will not be attending every single meeting.
Okay. So this seems to indicate that the CEO would be attending the meetings of the ZBA and the Conservation Commission and other federal, state, and local agencies, but not this one. I'm just wondering why this commission is not in that list. Does that indicate that?
Because the liaison role is the planner's role, and the liaison to the zoning board of appeals is the zoning enforcement officer.
Liaison.
Yeah, so that's what that means. It's those ones are called out because she'll be liaison to
Under
them.
Yeah,
essential job
exactly.
functions,
Right.
I
No,
believe
because
it's
that's
got
other.
the-
Okay.
Because up
Right.
above the general statement is designated agent of the town's planning and zoning. Commission.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the responsibility. So
Yeah.
the reason I ask is in the past, there have been situations where the zoning enforcement officer wasn't present when we wanted the zoning enforcement officer to be present in these meetings. And so I just want to make, it's not a distinction without a difference. I want to make sure that the CEO is available and we can have the CEO at these meetings and the CEO won't be discouraged
No,
from
not at
attending
all.
these meetings. And
No.
that did happen in the past.
Oh, it's not discouraged at all, but essentially required to go to zoning board of appeals and
Okay.
conservation.
Okay. We don't want a wall put up
Yeah,
between
no,
us.
not- that's
We're
not the case.
really off the
Yes, we are.
agenda that could have been brought up under correspondence, but anyway, you have before you, the history and her background. Chair would entertain a motion.
Would you like Tracy to come up and say hello?
Well, if you would like that, that's up to the commission.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Tracy, you want to,
There.
do you wish to ask her questions or what?
Hello.
Welcome to Inner Sanctum.
Thank you so much.
Do you have
I
questions for me?
appreciate being appreciated. You'll see a lot of me, don't worry.
You appear to be well qualified. I'm impressed.
Thank you so much.
So what are your thoughts about attending our meetings on somewhat of a regular basis, once a month?
As needed.
Well, over the long haul, I think as needed. On the short term, I want to learn as much as I can about the activities that are going on and about the work that you all are doing. So I plan to attend them as much as possible on the front end and then just stay in good communication about the need.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear that you're always welcome to attend the meetings. May not be required, but you're welcome to
Thank you so much.
attend, and you don't need our approval or anyone else's approval to attend because you are our CEO
Thank you.
representative.
representative as well.
Yeah, she is.
You are ours. Just remember that, you belong
Okay.
to us.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
I'll make a motion to appoint Tracy Beasley as the zoning enforcement officer, as delegated by the state of Connecticut to this body, as within our purview and requirements.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion?
It's great.
I stated before, I was impressed by her and her interview and also by her requirements. All in favor? It's unanimous.
Great resume.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much. I'm very happy to be here.
Good. We're happy to have you. Now we'll.
Now you give me my
have
homework
any
assignments?
for her? Oh, Charlie's absent. He said he had a list for you. Okay. Because you got 2 weeks, I guess. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
And before, I'd like to thank Rich for filling in, and Rich does a great job in his building inspecting, and does a good job for the town. I've known Rich for Loan Review Committee, and he works in Peter's office, or had worked at Peter's office. I don't know exactly where. He's upstairs in our office right now. You've done a great job, Rich, and I know the commission's really appreciated your reports. And especially the last report we have in our packet where you issued a cease and desist.
Well, since then, I've issued several others.
Do you
so
want-
I'm starting the process.
Oh, okay.
Charlie, they can come up again for their report.
Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to thank him. I saw him there, and we appointed the zoning enforcement. And he's been acting as zoning enforcement officer in between transfers of personnel. Okay. That's taken care of, so I don't skip over. Town attorney in writing. The only thing I don't see is the last filing that's in there isn't on his note. Is there a reason, or hasn't he received it?
The John Morgan case?
You're right.
Yeah, they are working on it. There's no report from them, but that will be, I believe their hearing's going to be on the 11th.
Okay.
I don't know what to do with my.
So we should have something from them for the next meeting.
All right. I didn't know if he'd be meeting with us in executive session or what. Okay. Any questions for Rachel or for the town attorney through Rachel? You have one, and you want to continue that one on minutes?
Oh, no, I think we've covered it.
Okay.
I'll talk to
Okay,
him.
zoning enforcement officer in writing in person. Rich, you want to come up and? Anything you want to add? Or the two of them, okay, that's right. We'll get it straight.
I'll give him support this time.
Oh, that's good.
As you know by my reports, I try to see the humor and irony in things.
Absolutely. And you've had your hands full with that Maple Road case, I see.
Yes, that, as you will note or have noted in the report, I was subpoenaed not too long ago to appear in Manchester Superior Court for that particular case. It was a civil matter at that particular point.
Right.
So it's an adjunct to his appeal with the town at a later date. So you'll be hearing pretty much the same facts.
You have questions for Rich? Looks like you've had a full plate, though, and the short time you've been up there, you've had quite a lot of action, along with your regular positions.
I'm happy that someone is on board full-time.
I'll bet.
Good job.
So this cease and desist for the Crick School, have they appealed it?
Yeah.
They have not sent in the materials yet,
Oh, that's right. I'm
but
sorry.
they called that they are working on them, and they've got until I think Thursday. Did we figure out the calculation?
They have 15 days, 10 days to correct and 15 days to appeal.
It's all in here.
And I strongly suspect they will appeal.
Can you, or what does the appeal contain? I mean, what involves an appeal from what you say? Is that court, or does that mean court, or?
They would, from what I see, they would have to appear before the zoning appeals board. And then I think if
Okay.
they don't reach a resolution, then it would go to court.
Okay.
That would be my
So
understanding.
that's a regular process then that we normally have for just really anybody that goes to ZBA.
When a cease and desist order is issued, yes.
Okay,
They
I
have-
was just
They have the right
thinking-
to appeal it.
I was just thinking on the size of the complaint was all,
Well, it is
there's several, yeah,
quite complex.
right. Okay. Any further questions for
No, good job, thank you.
Al? No? For either
Thank you, it
one?
was a pleasure.
Okay,
Pleasure
well,
serving
thank
you.
you. Thank you very much, Rich. Okay, blight. Got quite a lot here. Blight, any questions for the blight officer through Rachel?
We won't know if there's blight out there till the snow melts.
No, but some of them you can. For most of these, like the grass and trash, I guess if the places are vacant, you can figure that they're going to continue. I think you can see on some of these that the houses that are in disrepair and so forth are still going to be in disrepair. And some of these the houses. Any questions for the blight report?
No, good job.
Okay, thank you. And this is what I was referring to on the reports that we used to receive from
Ginny?
Ginny, yeah. It just makes it a lot easier, and really don't have to spend as much time as Rich has spent, really. Rich was in quite detail. Very good.
Reports for what you'll
Okay.
do. I'll be-
Assistant Town Planner.
So a couple things. One, Matt will probably be coming, Matt Koppler, town manager, will probably be coming next week, next meeting for a budget update. He's putting together materials now, and we're expecting that he'll be ready to have everything on the agenda for the next meeting.
Capital project.
Yeah, to talk through the town budget and how it relates to planning.
Okay.
Another, put it in my phone. To update the Yard House, they had come and asked for an administrative approval that was granted a while back to change the material of the parking lot. That is their full application. We've got everything now. We're going to process that. John's going to do some comments, and we will get that resolved and out the door shortly.
Was that Lori had raised a question, or somebody had raised a question that hadn't been done?
There was an issue that they had when they first came in with the modification plans. They had taken out the islands from the new drawing, and the commission had only approved a change to the material. So they went back to the architects, and they redrew it with adding in the islands back. So the same level of pervious coverage that was approved by the commission, same number of shade trees to shade the parking.
Okay.
Everything's back. So, and it will be the solid pavement that they were looking to do to upgrade the project.
I think that's what it was. Okay, thank you.
And then a quick one has a sort of a long end to it, sort of, is the Mass Mutual would like to, has a very minor modification to their trench. And we don't have a system in place right now to deal with minor modifications. It's a rerouting of the trench a few feet. Do we want it? Do you guys want it to come back, forward it to everyone to take a look?
Is it the utility trench or
The utility trench.
I know they had to move the water line, so, but it's a utility trench.
Yes.
For my sake, if that's the only thing and there's nothing else has to be moved, because when they moved some of that, they had to move a building or cut it, they were doing something.
They had to see it, yeah.
If it's up to, I would say if you get a okay from the town engineer authorizes it, to my way of thinking, it would be all right, along with you and the town engineer.
So we'll do memos to the file from town engineer, and I'll review it as well, and just make sure that nothing else has changed. But my understanding was that it's just the
moving
change
it.
to the trench so that they can facilitate the connection of both projects that they're working on.
But our town engineer should check it, because there was I know there's problems when they were doing on different varying lines, so.
So yeah, John will definitely review before.
Okay. Then I.
So is there an
Chair would entertain
official-
a Motion
Make a
or whatever.
motion that Mass Mutual application be taken care of administratively by our assistant town planner
Second.
And with,
with the approval of the town engineer.
Second.
motions made and seconded that the town planner be authorized to approve along with the
Town engineer.
town engineer's approval. Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous. 500, but again, our name should be who did what.
So even if it's unanimous,
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, it would be, you'd have to reverse, but I think it probably would save trouble if you just had it on sometimes. Because if you only pull that, you know who was there.
I
Sometimes you
see.
give us a sheet and it just has the past, and it doesn't give us who was in attendance.
okay.
So, yeah, it probably should.
Yeah, we'll look into it.
I get that
Okay.
from FOI too, but, okay. Anything else?
Not much. It's been super busy. We've
The
got.
only thing I can remember you
lots of
wanted
applicants.
was money for the program,
Oh, and
then you didn't do the budget.
I didn't get the budget. I'm sorry.
But you say we have enough.
I think we do have enough. It would be coming directly from the commission's budget. With the meeting next week, we only have half the commission going, so the budget that would cover everyone going to the dinner next week, since half of it would cover our 250.
Okay, we're meeting down here at what, 4 o'clock? Okay.
I can add that to the agenda for that meeting, if that would be helpful. But then,
I'll take your
depends on the
word. I'll
public.
be willing to take your word for it.
it's not until April 10th. I can bring it to the next meeting.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have to.
Okay, moving on. If there's nothing else, moving on. Yep. At this point in the meeting, Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comments, concerns, and opinions relating to planning and zoning in Enfield from anyone who is present, provided no one may discuss any matter of business at this time that's already elsewhere on the agenda, any matter that's part of an open public hearing of the commission, or any matter where a decision of the commission may be pending. Anyone in the audience would like to address the commission at this time? Welcome, Mr. Levitz. Let me hold this up so people, pass this. So what you're looking around, yeah, I have to hold it up so the TV can see it. If they,
Can you zero in on that?
you'd have to hold it so that camera can pick you
Well,
up.
he's zoning in.
At
Was it?
the,
Oh, yeah, you do have that one up there, I'm sorry.
And then we can't see it.
When he had it facing him, it was,
at the July 20th meeting, when we were discussing the transit-oriented development and the rail station, Charlie, you made a statement about have we done anything for the second means of egress? And at the time, the only thing that we had done was
Is that microphone on,
it should be,
is the red light on? Okay.
now it's on.
I think Henry wants to see it.
Here.
Let Ron hold it. Ron can hold it.
The issues that
Camera went
that
off
I
it.
assumed at the time, and I still assume that you were talking to me to see if I had done anything about a second means of egress.
Right.
I had, originally 2 years ago, I had talked to Tom Maziar about doing a flyover from Whitworth Street. But in our discussions, it was determined that that was much too expensive for and that type of endeavor to put a second access to North River Street or to River Street.
I think Peter asked you that question at the last.
Pardon me?
meeting. I think Peter Falk asked you that question at the last meeting, whether it was able to jump over the tracks at the other end.
I think it was him, yeah. That was much too expensive. But in order to pass over, under, or underneath, or whatever you're going to do with a rail siding, a rail line, you have to get permission from Amtrak, because this is an Amtrak line. That's not going to be forthcoming. So we have to deal with the accesses that are there and in place. And right now, there's only 2 accesses that are in place. The Main Street Bridge, which is in the lower right, and the Asnuntuck Street Tunnel, which is on the upper left. The second means of egress, obviously, has got to be the Asnuntuck Street Tunnel there. The center view is a picture of the degradation of the ceiling in the actually in the tunnel. There are parts that are coming down, and there's been an attempt many years ago, probably 30 years ago, to keep that ceiling intact. The upper right is a shot of the retaining wall of the riprap, which is failing. The lower left is a shot from the side, and as you could see, that wall that was put up is coming apart. It's been denied by Public Works and by John in engineering that anybody from Enfield put up those 2x6s. Nobody's making claim to that.
I don't blame them. 2x6s aren't going to hold the pressure that's producing.
Center picture is, it was taken because if you look up toward the upper right-hand corner of the lower center picture, you'll see a hunk of concrete that broke loose and is laying on the bank. Those 5 pictures illustrate that, at least to me, walking through the tunnel, that is, in its present condition, is not really viable for access to the other side of the track. At the center point, it's 7 feet 9 high. That means that if we had a very narrow ambulance that could get through there, or go out and find an old Cadillac ambulance that's going to be low enough to get through, because the second means of egress is needed in case of an emergency.
That's right.
If a truck goes through the Main Street underpass and the town might have paved the street and raised it up a little bit, raised the street level up there by lowering the headroom going under that bridge, and a truck gets jammed up in there, that's the day that somebody is going to have a heart attack on South River Street, and you're going to try to get an ambulance through something that could be condemned. Point aside, the town has applied for funds, Enfield has applied for funds to rebuild the bridge on South River Street spanning Freshwater Brook. And they don't have the funds yet, but they have applied for the funds. So there is going to be road construction in this area. And I would very strongly recommend that as a town and as an individual, put as much pressure on our public officials, be they the senator or our both senators and the town with the state people to do something with the Asnuntuck Street Bridge to give us a second means of egress.
Even on Ashnuntuk, as you pointed out, you come down Ashnuntuk Street, it's a sharp left turn to get under that.
Yeah, it's a
too,
dog leg.
Also.
Yep.
And it's on a curve or on a hill is the other side on Ashnuntuk, if any of you have been down through there. I would think the Senator Blumenthal has been in the paper trying to get more safety inspection and more inspections. I would think he might be interested in some of these photographs as far as this, especially that Ashnuntuk Street crossing. Because to me, and you can see, if you get down there, you can see the disrepair with the heavy freight trains that go over there. And I think before the meeting, you saw what kind of vehicles?
It was roughly a 50-car train, a 50-car freight unit that came down the tracks, and the last 15 or 20 cars were the super tankers, the big petroleum liquefied gas units. If one of those goes through, it's going to be fireworks down there. But I don't want to be the one to stimulate this, but in light of the fact that Metro North has had their issues down in Bridgeport, and they've had the issues down at the Bend in the Bronx, and some people wound up getting killed down there. I'm somewhat upset that this is allowed to go on in light of that. I mean, nobody can say that they were unaware or uninformed of this. And I would make a suggestion to the town folks that we get this to the press and have them go down and look at it. I think they'll come to the same conclusions we all came to, that this is dangerous down there. We do need a second means of egress, but I don't want to sound altruistic. I think this is a life safety issue. The picture on the lower right by Ron's thumb, shows the Amtrak in their wisdom back about 25 years ago when they removed the second track and the drill track. They also took down parts of the bridge that span Main Street.
Oh, right, okay.
And as you could see in there, about 2/3 of the bridge, I was informed by Tom Maziar that they have planned to go back in when they do the second track and rebuild the east part of that bridge, which should be good news. They're not going to go through a big expense to put up the second track there. Where it should be of concern to us, and the town should understand, that they're going to be coming about 15 feet east to put in that second track. When they do that, you're starting up the hill again, the Main Street hill, which means that you get a long enough truck trying to go through there for whatever reason, or a long enough bus to get to the TOD, that it could get jammed up in there. My suggestion is we should look into preparing, or the town should look into preparing to pull the aggregate off the street at the slope of the hill and take the crown out of the hill up in front of Building 18 at Bigelow and make it a more gradual slope so the emergency vehicles can get through without the fear of...
That's a town street, though, isn't it? It used to be a main route, but isn't it a town street presently?
There was what?
The top of Main Street. It used to be a state road, but it's a town street.
Yeah, as it goes up, if you just start cutting back trim off the top, if you take 6 or 8 inches off the road, and you could pick up from 12.5 feet underneath that bridge to 13 feet, I think you'll be all right.
Well, that'd be the town engineer and the railroad, I guess, when they ever get around to doing that.
That's going to be needed not just for anything that might be built on the other side of the river. And an IETO, a transit-oriented development, but it's necessary to look forward to the multimodal center that the town
To-
is going to be putting up there.
Who should we refer that town traffic safety is the police department, but who would our concern on this particular bridge at Ashnuntuk Street go to?
Probably to John Capivo.
But who would he notify? The Amtrak or whoever owns the tracks?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Amtrak owns the tracks, correct?
The what?
It's Amtrak that owns the tracks.
Amtrak owns the track. It's used, when we were there on Sunday, both an Amtrak passenger train came by and a Conrail freight came by. So it's
Conrail uses the tracks as well,
Conrail does all the freight. Amtrak does all the passenger.
but you don't know who did the repairs. Well, they would be responsible for the repairs anyway, Amtrak or whoever. Do you want to make a motion to refer the condition, or I don't know what the commission wants to do about it. It is a concern of safety, both for people passing under, because that is used for
Yep.
going down to the boat launch.
And I would say that you would get all the support from the fire department. They definitely want a second means of egress to get over there. To get
Well,
to
I know the fire, according to Dominic, the fire department has to have, look for special vehicles to even go under the main street one.
Right.
Because of clearance.
As I understand it, there's only one apparatus, one vehicle that's at North Thompsonville that can't get under the bridge, and it's not because of the height of the vehicle.
Sure.
It's because of the length of the vehicle, that they would be still going down the slope, and the back end of it would be hitting.
The back end is up and the.
Back end is up, front end is down.
Yep.
So I would encourage the town, the elected officials, the appointed officials to make waves about this.
Well, maybe the concern to maybe it's the wrong place to go to us, but we could have concern to the
Have you been to
council.
the council and shown them this?
I just got it back from Kinko's a
Yeah.
couple of hours ago.
I would suggest you take it to the council. Maybe they're not even aware of it. You should make them aware of it.
I'd be glad to show it to them. I just felt that I was obligated to answer the question at the last meeting that
Yeah,
that
I
Charlie.
appreciate it.
I would
it's a
certainly take
concern.
it to council.
I would
but
think, because you read in the paper, as you mentioned, the railroad cars going off in various towns, the tankers evacuated, and that would be an accident waiting to happen, I would think. I don't know what, I'm not an engineer, of course, but
I think the town council will carry more weight than we would. It's much more than a zoning issue. We're talking about safety issues from various aspects, from Amtrak and the population, and so, yeah, I would urge you to take it to the town council.
Well, that was one of the issues at the crossing of when we were talking to the state about coming across from Whitworth to North River Street. There's a 13.5-foot difference in the elevation of Whitworth Street and North River Street.
Yep.
That in itself would lend to be able to bridge the track, but under the new regulations that Amtrak, not Amtrak, but Conrail has, they're going to be hauling the trailers that are loaded on the flatbed cars. They're going to be double stacking them, as they are in several other locations in the country. When they start double stacking them, you need 26 feet clear from the track level to the underside of the underpass, which means that even with a 13.5 foot, we would have to go be building a big flyover. So we have to do something on the surface to get across. Yeah, under, over, whatever, but. So I will leave this with you, if you prefer that I bring it before,
I think it should
you
go to
should.
the council because we can refer it both to the council and the engineering department, but that's beyond us. The council would have more say or political weight, I guess. But it is a concern as far as we go, as far as there's any development
however you
down there.
wish. I,
Well, no, I think that's where it is. It's our concern because it does really affect any development beyond the railroad tracks.
Rachel, can you bring this to the attention of the town manager? That's one channel to get it to the council, and then these pictures tell thousands of words, so if you could also pursue that track with the council with these pictures, that would help. Perhaps several approaches would
will
work.
do. Okay. And this is with this over the past week and a half or 2 weeks since we talked about it at the last planning and zoning meeting. I did talk to Gary Gumond, who is with Richter Segan, who are the land planners that were hired by Cecil Group to do the Cecil report. I talked to Ken Buckland yesterday and suggested to him what the findings were, and if we were able to correct that, would that satisfy any question that they had, and he said it would. I talked to John up in engineering today, and he immediately denied any involvement at all in this. He said this is strictly an Amtrak issue.
Oh, it is.
We didn't do anything to hold back the riprap, and we have to deal through them.
Well, even the railroad ties that are there to hold the ballast, I guess that's what they are, ballast rocks in back that they've dumped in there.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's pushing them out, which they're, what, 4x4? If it's pushing them out, the 2x4 sure ain't gonna hold it. And I hadn't seen them. I'd seen the disrepair of the ties that were there before. I haven't been down there since last spring
Well, and
or
that-
last fall.
That lower left picture, what they tried to do is they tried to shove in bags of sand
Yep.
to help control it, and they're creating as much of a problem as the trains going by.
Unless somebody in the neighborhood, I have no idea. Okay, thank you very much, but it is, if you take it to the council,
Council.
maybe you'll get something there. And that's the place. Yeah, it is.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to address the commission? Anyone else would like to address the commission? Last call to address the commission. Okay, moving on. Correspondence, you had your planning magazine, and a lot of it dealt with, I guess, elections of officers. You have your summary of zoning going on in the capital region.
Charlie, can I say one thing about the Planner magazine?
Yes,
So there's it's two short things. One is there's a really good article in there about manufacturing.
yes.
If you didn't read it, I thought it was great. And then the second was for Ron, and then it's for Charlie Ladd mostly, but for both of you. The commissioner, the part we were printing, is actually in the magazine. So I don't think we're going to need to do that because we all get the full magazine.
Okay. Capital Region, you have a notice from Suffield, which is interesting. It's one I'd underlined is permit additional housing choice, but I don't know how it's this dealt with, I guess, places for people to live. Like
So it's-
an additional house on the property.
Right, so it's expanding, I think it's basically expanding upon the concept of an accessory apartment to allow it to be in a separate structure.
Separate structure.
So it could be
right.
in the garage if it's a detached garage or a little cabin at the back
Over
of the
the
property.
garage, but again, probably their lots, at least on Main Street, are quite deep and quite large. Which was some of ours would
Yeah.
be, yeah. You have the notice of the Capital Federation of Planning and Zoning Agencies. And this is notice and who's speaking, and it's, that's where we're going next week.
Medical marijuana.
Yeah. I don't know if there'll be samples, but have we got any movement on that, by the way?
We have. I'm going to be meeting with Ken Buckland tomorrow. We're going to bring the Cecil group back in to do some finalizing of material for us, and we'll get it back to you as soon as possible. We're working with them to deal with, brought this up before, it's poultry, commercial vehicles, and medical marijuana. The town manager authorized us to go ahead and hire a consultant to finalize everything.
it?
To write drop-in regulations that will come back with you with all the supporting materials.
We wrote our own. We got advice from Capital Region. CROG has other samples. They get them from other towns.
We do have samples.
We don't have them, but that's what we used to do with.
Okay.
with,
It's a matter of,
would notify CROG that we're looking into such and such, and are there any towns that had zoning
Okay.
regulations already? You really don't need to go out.
well, it's a matter of time because we understood from the commission that this is a high
Has been.
priority.
Yeah, no, you're right.
And my time is going to Thompsonville, what time I get for
know,
planning,
I
so.
know. That's it. We just gave you another one on the aquifer, so it keeps on piling
Yeah.
up. I guess, okay. I will need, because I don't know if I'll have to drive or not, but we should have, maybe you could email the directions
Directions, sure.
to there in case somebody needs them that's going. Because there'll be more than just one driver, I guess.
Is coordination typically something, is transportation
Well, we meet here
typically
in the back
coordinated?
and take attendance.
Sometimes.
Do attendance here?
Driven our own cars down.
Okay.
You know, in that case, we Google directions ourselves the aquature.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Because I'll be driving
You
myself
going,
since,
Alan?
Very easy to,
Yeah.
very easy to get there.
you have me on the list.
Maybe Alan can drive you.
thanks.
Well, maybe
Well,
Alan can.
we're going to carpool here, but sometimes we've left. I know one time Lori and I and somebody else drove straight away.
Yeah, I know, sometimes you do.
We don't
so.
meet here sometimes.
All right, so we'll meet
Some
here.
people that are elsewhere, like Peter's gonna come from wherever where
Right.
he's working.
Middletown.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be down meeting here, hopefully. I have an appointment earlier, but hopefully, that's why I wanted the minutes.
So what time should we, I'm trying to see what
4
time it
o'clock.
starts. So 4 o'clock here in the parking lot.
Right,
Whoever's here will do attendance. We'll add everybody else to the minutes when we
Right.
get down there.
yeah. Yep,
So, and Barb is coming, so she will be helping us coordinate all of this.
Good. She's good at that.
And Tracy will also be joining us for the evening.
okay.
And Ginny
you
as
were
well.
gonna send me the meeting times and dates, because they aren't on that sheet of the two agencies that we are supposed to go to. We have representatives, but I would like to drop in once in a while.
Oh, EC, yes.
You had that down. Okay, moving on, commissioners' correspondence, I guess that's where that is. Anybody with anything? Okay, Bob?
Is this where we might take up the split of our books, or do you want to do that later?
Go right
Okay.
now.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. And we now have two books, one that's kind of current events and the other is boilerplate. Some things, though, that used to be in the combined volume have disappeared. They're not in either, and I missed some of those. For example, I had in my binder the bylaws.
Bylaws should be.
That should go in the permanent.
They
They're in
be there.
here?
Yes.
Okay, the other thing I had was the Connecticut state statutes that delegate authority to planning and zoning commissions. I had those to refer to. If there's anything else that was in my binder that's not in either of the current ones, I'd like to have it put back in the permanent binder.
Well, we can give you, I think Pam has everything still separated out if you want it, but largely it's out of date material. The POCD that was in our books was the draft version, and everybody has the final version.
Chicken
Right.
stuff was in there, and I don't.
But there's
have
other stuff that I could refer to,
Right.
like, as I said, our bylaws. I didn't notice our bylaws were
So
in
if you
there,
want to, if
but-
you could just email me in the morning, because it's going to
Okay.
get lost.
All I wanted
I'm
was what
sorry.
was in my back
Yeah.
back pocket. Or no, well, it was in the
I guess I
back
like the
left
option
folder.
of the things that used to be in the old binder. I'd like to have the opportunity to say yes or no. I want it you can take this out, or I'd like it included in the permanent.
So either
binder.
call or email us because I'm not going to remember everybody's requests right now.
Would Barbara,
Yeah.
is she the one we should bother about that rather than you? Because
Bother
she's
about
doing it, right?
Pam's the one who's been working on the books.
Okay.
But yeah, you call Barb and she'll connect you to Pam and
Okay.
we'll find what we
That's
find.
better.
Hopefully they're still there.
Drop down. Okay. Any other correspondence?
Let me throw something in on that. Why don't we have her give us everything back that was in our book and let us make a decision?
That's
Sure.
what we want in there?
Yeah, that's the
Let us do
best.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Just send it and let us do it.
If it's still on a pile, we'll send it.
We'll clean it out. Okay.
Charlie wants his chicken material.
Yeah, it just a lot of it just we couldn't tell in our office if it was valuable or not, and
Yep.
but I guess it was. And sorry.
Okay. Well,
Okay.
One other question, is it the intention that are we calling this the permanent binder or whatever we're calling it?
It's a reference binder.
Is the intent that we take this home and leave it at home?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'll always have the same stuff
if
here.
you want to bring it with you, you're welcome to do it.
Yeah, I'll always have the same stuff here. We're gonna give supplements as part of correspondence, and if we have any supplements to give you guys, like the zoning map, we updated it. We haven't been able to print it of a size that's usable yet, so once it's printed, we'll put it in the correspondence with a little note saying this is for your permanent, this is for your reference book.
Perfect.
What's the, and I don't know but on mine, because I don't think my zoning map is updated, because I was looking at it for some reason the other day. What's the last update? Did you just update it? When
Today.
you changed today?
Today.
Okay.
It'll be updated. I'm hoping the GIS is going to be updated overnight. I'm not sure if it
Did you
will
put in
flow
the
that quickly.
medical,
Exactly.
Because that would be the last revision.
I signed that one already.
Yeah. So Peter signed one copy that's hanging in the office, and the copies for everybody else we need to still print. But I was hoping to. Do you want the full 24 by 36
Oh,
giant
but,
one?
You know, and this is another thing, and I've told you, it's not going to happen, so don't worry about it. But we've never updated the zoning map. We had one meeting when Ray was here, Ray Warren, of updating the zoning map to meet the plan of development.
What do you mean?
The plan of conservation development.
Yes.
The zoning map doesn't necessarily match that.
Right.
We had one meeting, and Jose was supposed to follow through with it, and I don't even know when that
I mean,
meeting was.
every zone change will have to be a full public hearing, and
Well, I
that's
know
the whole
that, but
workshop.
that's one problem.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that necessarily our plan of development, which was done when,
2011.
okay, has never been reconciled with the zoning map.
Right, and I think we're working towards that with the Thompsonville components.
Well,
and-
part of it, but there were other parcels in land that we were supposed to be looking at and the possibility of rezoning.
Yeah, that's a 10-year project, right?
Well,
With USCD?
it's 10 years, we're supposed to start another one.
Right, so,
And we were talking last time about a review of this one again.
yes.
Okay, well, that's all right.
I mean,
You walked into a,
I think we're taking it
No,
piece
you're
by
doing-
piece
I
as
know
opposed to
I know you are, you're doing a great job.
the whole
with what you're
kit and
doing.
caboodle's gonna, that's a,
No, you're doing a
that's a
great
tough
job
one.
with what you're handed.
You try.
Well,
So,
the staff was cut back
Yeah,
and thin down too much. Okay, let's move on, unless there's something else. Okay, public hearing 2788. Will the secretary read the legal notice and take the,
Roll, sure.
hold on now. What's the legal requirement for this? You have a number here, file number submitted incorrect? Was
The
that-
one that went in the paper said 2772, but the words in the write-up didn't change. It was strictly the number. The real number is 2788.
Okay, that has no effect then?
No.
All right, okay.
All right, the Enfield Planning and Zoning Commission will hold public hearings on Thursday, March 6th, beginning at 7 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers, 820 Enfield Street, Enfield, Connecticut, concerning the following. Public hearing 2788, a special permit for a Class 3 liquor permit to allow a package store for the sale of alcoholic beverages at 90 Enfield Street in a Business General BG District. Map 35, Lot 42, Angie Nugent, applicant, 90 Enfield Street LLC, owner. This notice was published in the Journal Enquirer on February 22nd, 2014, and February 27th, 2014. Roll call, Charles Durin.
Present.
Elizabeth Ballard.
Here.
Peter Falk here. Kathleen Sarno, absent. Lori Longi, absent. Nicholas Pecos, absent. Charles Ladd, absent. Ronald Gregory.
Here.
Alan Drynan.
Here.
Dominic Alamo, absent.
Commissioners Drynan and Gregory will be sitting in for the absent commissioners. Applicant, come forward, please, and tell us just exactly what it is you're doing.
Hi, my name is David Tran, and I'm part owner of the Angie State Line Package Store. And recently we're moving from the current location now to a new location. The lease is expired, and we didn't get no lease yet. And also, new location is have bad access, have lights in and out, and have a handicap ramp. Everything is really.
Okay, I guess most of I know your parking in front there is tight, but you do have the parking in back at your present place, but a lot of people don't use that. They use the front part. This is in the State Line Development or Gateway Project, as I told you. But that wouldn't affect this property because the property there at the number 90, whatever, 90, is modern. What we're concerned about were the older locations where they parked in front, such as the package store he's in at present. So, I think actually safety people in and out of there, especially when the lottery is high, it would be
Yes.
much safer.
I mean, even at like a busy hour, you just can't take a left turn from the right now. And the new one is have the lights and arrow lights,
Yep.
and I have a lot of senior citizens. They right now they have to go up the step, and
I use Booth Road, and even with the lights, you have trouble getting out because people come north in the southbound lane to get into the gas station, and you
Yeah.
may have a head-on right out there.
I'm inside the gas station. Pride moving in, the traffic is just like
It is.
crazy.
Grand Central Station.
It's a much better location for you.
Exactly.
That's one concern, I think, when, okay, that's one good reason for the move. The only thing, and I know the distance still isn't within the thing, but you have the freshwater package store as the next liquor. It's My Yachts, or it used to be My Yachts.
Where?
There's a package store down next to
Pizza Palace.
Pizza Palace.
I think Pizza Palace is a.
No,
There we
Oh, there's
right
another one
corner to
next to
Pizza
it.
Next corner.
Palace. It's not My Yachts. It's
Next corner north.
My Yachts sold
Yeah.
to someone else, and they came in for.
I think Enfield
change.
Warehouse, I believe, something like
Okay.
that.
It
Yeah, I
didn't
don't
come
know
up.
what it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I just
It didn't come up in the searches anywhere.
well maybe because
Sorry.
the transfer and it has a name, but they were just in because they were going to add offices upstairs and they were going to do some buildings.
And they have a
upstairs.
class 3. Do they have a class 3 permit?
It's a package store.
It's a
package
package
store?
store, so I don't know what class that is.
What? Do you know the address? I'm sorry, I don't know it.
Do I have the address? I have no idea. What's Pizza Palace?
And the name
7,
is.
it would be,
But it used to
My
be My
Yachts.
Yachts. I don't know what it is now.
it used to be My Yachts, yeah,
Called the Enfield Liquor Warehouse.
Okay.
Used to be my office.
right.
Yeah, so we did get a list from we asked the state for a list of everything, and it's not a comprehensive list. So it had some places that aren't exist
Okay,
anymore,
well, no,
and tons who
I
weren't.
just wanted not
Yeah.
really to correct, but I know it's not in the thing anyway, but,
We do need to check the distance.
okay, no, you don't need to because it's down, it's farther
Way
down.
far
It's
away,
below,
yes,
Okay.
far down.
it's
Yeah.
At
below
least
the
a
fire
mile- At least a
station.
mile.
Okay. Because 1,000 feet is
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
basically only
that's more than
covers
that.
the
No problem.
interchange.
The only time it came in for a problem was when we had a request for a liquor license at the place that has a fruit stand.
Yeah, across from the Veterans Place there.
Yes, across
American
from
Legion or
American
whatever.
Legion.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the only time, because that's right near my house. Okay, you have, fire department had no objections or concerns, the police had no concerns, engineering had no comments, and, the only questions were location of compressors, and there would be, a noise problem with that if they're outside. And the decibels, because then he would run into the noise ordinance of the town. You're aware of that. I don't know what the noise ordinance deals with decibels, and I don't know what all. I
Compressor is
probably-
inside, yeah.
It's going to be inside?
Compressors were going to be
Yeah,
inside.
Going to be inside the
I
building.
read that they
Yeah.
might be, or you thought they might be outside.
No, I have them inside.
Okay, and that there was also a question on the fire department or building that the electrical and plumbing or the sprinklers might have to be moved. I don't know who said that. But that's all in the building department, as long as he's aware of those notices.
Yeah.
Did you receive the notices from those departments? I just want to make sure that you have those.
Yes, those notes came during an ART.
They did,
Yes.
but he was there then?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're aware. I just don't want you to get in there and then find out you've got a problem. Okay. As he said, traffic for him in and out, and even for his patrons, is with the light there,
Safer for the town.
it's safer, much safer.
Got to be a bigger building, too.
The only
Yeah,
thing
bigger building, too.
the only thing I recall, and I don't know who still owns it. It was Nugers. I don't know who the owner, but before they used to have cross parking agreements because of the parking on next door. There's a motocross or
Yeah, Mark Motorsports.
yeah, okay, the auto sports, and there's other things in that particular building, and there were cross-parking agreements.
Yes, and that still is in place.
Okay.
It's behind the building, and there should be a site plan, and I'm
Well,
not
as long,
seeing it in my
I
site.
know they are, but I didn't see that you'd mentioned that there were cross-parking. I just,
Yeah.
as long as you considered that in there, and he won't have any parking problems. I don't think the others produce that much traffic anyway.
Now, when we looked at it, the generation rate is basically, it's 1 per 150 square feet of sale and customer area. And it's basically the same as the last few things that were planned for. When the building was built, it was really planned for retail use in this space.
Yes.
And that's got the same parking requirements as the store would have.
Okay.
So, and we expected, based on the calculations, that it would be 12 spaces anticipated use, and that's a lot of quick traffic, as opposed to the offices that are going to have, some very stable numbers.
Okay. Well, any questions or any
No, I think it's
comments?
a great improvement.
I think it will be for the area too. And I think it'll be a good move for the applicant, really. It's a public hearing. Anyone in the public would like to speak in favor or against this application? Anyone in the public would like to speak in favor or against the application? Last call to speak in favor or against the application. Okay, anything you wish to add or any reason to keep it open?
No.
I'll close public hearing 2788.
I'd like to make a motion to waive the full submission requirements of section 9.10.2 because the commission finds that the information is not necessary in order to decide on the application's conformance with these regulations.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to waive the full submission. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous.
I'd like to make a motion to approve public hearing 2788, a special permit for Class 3 liquor permit to allow a package store for the sale of alcoholic beverages at 90 Enfield Street in a business general BG District, map 35, lot 42. And associated with that, there are 18 conditions as outlined in a memo from Rachel Blatt dated February 27, 2014.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Have you received the conditions, and do you have a problem with them?
No,
You have no problem, or you haven't received them?
no, I have received.
You've received them? Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? It's unanimous, 500. Okay, welcome, and
Yeah.
Thank you.
all.
yes, yep. Okay.
Everybody's leaving.
Okay. Who's doing the photographs now?
The applicant submitted the photograph.
Oh, all right, because Jose used to, and we were complimenting him. I thought maybe it was continuing. Give Barbara a camera.
That's something that possibly Tracy will,
Oh, that's good, okay.
taking a photo of the public hearing signs when they're
Not the
posted.
signs, I'm talking about the properties and.
Oh, no, that's, we've
When-
been
when we
asking
were-
the applicant to do that.
When we were giving bonds back on growing trees and so forth, we always had somebody get one out, not only with the written description of what was or wasn't done, but they also had photographs.
Yeah. Right, we've been asking the applicant to provide photos of existing buildings, especially with those waiver applications where we don't have
Yeah.
full materials.
Well, yeah, that's going to be a good improvement traffic-wise up in that area, too.
Yep.
Okay, where am I? Got another one here.
SPR.
SPR, you gotta find the SPRs. Another,
That's the new business.
no old business, it's new business. Okay. Under new business, site plan review 1613, and we have no applicant? Or did he go out? Was that who
Was he-
that?
Yeah, he was here and he said he was coming back.
Do you want to hold for it then? Is he out, is he here in the building, or,
I didn't see him in the hall.
okay, well, then let's wait for him.
Okay.
I'll take items out of order. If I get a motion, we'll do.
Make a motion to take items out of order so that we would proceed to other
Applications to
business
be
applications to be received.
Okay, let's do it.
And a second?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we do. Applications to be received.
Okay.
2789, they ready to go? Was it had the ART?
They are ready to go. They've had an ART.
Okay.
It
and
looks
how
like a very
about
full
this,
application.
FLD 35.
That property is in a flood zone.
I know that. Where they're going originally was to be a detention or a pond.
So what they're doing with this application, so everybody knows, is the building that they are going to be proposing in this public hearing is up at the road,
Yep.
but they're going to be working on the flood detention because they have anticipated additional growth at the back of the property in the flood area. So they're doing a flood management plan to do that detention up at the front under this new building.
Do we know who the user will be, or?
Yes, they do. We'll talk
Okay.
about that after.
All right.
Okay, because when it flooded, it didn't flood up that high.
Right.
The
So
last flood. The cars were under water that were down in where the
The
old
back.
bus place used to be, next to Bob's.
right. So there's the, so there was the last flood application on this property was only a couple of years ago, and that was for the Men's Warehouse.
Yep.
So they're anticipating that they're going to have another tenant, not necessarily in that same configuration, but somewhere in that same vicinity,
Okay.
building into that parking lot down in the flood area.
Okay.
So they're doing a detention plan now so that they can put the detention where it should be up near the road as part of this project for the new restaurant.
Okay, so maybe do you want 035 then prior to the 2789?
That's what we couldn't quite tell from the older files if they need to be, which one needs to come first.
Well,
Or do you take them together and vote on one first?
Yeah, but if we don't like 035, you're
Right,
not going to do
that's what Barb was
2789.
thinking.
Yeah, take them in the other order.
But they're the same material. we've got one set of
Saying
material.
they're putting one, if they're putting the building on top of whatever this is 35 is,
Right. It's worked into the same plans. But the detention and
if
they've
we
done.
don't like it, that may be, but if the commission, and I'm just one, and I haven't seen it yet.
So the motion would be simultaneously for both PA, Public Hearing 2789 and FLD 035, or
We'll have to do
will we
an
take
effort.
two separate motions?
We'll have to take two separate motions.
Two separate
Okay.
motions, two separate hearings, really. Because one is what is it, the tanks like we put under the hospital?
I believe something like that.
Something like that.
So are they going to present?
They weren't under the building, I think they were under the parking lot.
But it's
Johnson, right?
it's not fully under the building. I can
Hartford
show you the
Hospital.
map. I mean, it's under the parking area near the road.
I think we better do 035 myself
First?
before
First.
2789.
So I'll talk to the applicants to make sure that when we do the flood, that they're only talking about the storage containers and the drainage, et cetera.
Right. There'll be two separate
Well, they might have to
applications.
tell us how close the building's gonna be or where other buildings are gonna be located, but yeah.
And I guess they could operate off the same plans, but it would
Right,
have to
because you're going to
be-
get one set of plans.
Yeah, 035 first, and then
One
the
set
public
of
hearing
plans?
second.
We didn't have them do full sets twice. That seemed
Right.
No. That's what-
That seems like a lot.
I'm confused. Because when Hartford Hospital came in, they had well, you're unfamiliar, but that's a little wet in there too. And they have, well, we've used them before. We have them over at the daycare center here on High Street. And I don't know if we just used them again, but they're really containers that let the water out slowly into the town or state sewer system, stormwater sewer system. Is that the type of thing that they're,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. But the ones at the hospital and the ones over here on High Street were not under a building.
It's under the parking area.
Right,
It's-
under the parking area, and that's where they are at both places.
So if we take them separately, if we
Yes,
take
we do.
035 first, then,
Let's not discuss that, that's.
yeah, I know, we're not discussing the specific item, but if we approve it, then could move forward. If for any reason we
You don't
don't
approve
approve
that,
it, then
they
they'd have
can't
the option of postponing
idea.
or asking for a continuance.
So we'll do the
Exactly.
flood first.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, site plan review. Freshwater Boulevard, now, wait a minute. This was set up as an automotive, no, that's Palumbo.
This was Computer Tube and Lube. Yep, right behind is Sherwin-Williams and something else in the front. And this is on the side of that same property with Hot Table.
Yes,
Yeah,
my favorite.
Accessible also from the cross street there.
Cranbrook?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
is it on Cranbrook?
It actually faces on Cranbrook.
There's an
the
there's an
entrance
access
That's the one-
onto
that's
Cranbrook.
the
Yeah.
one the fellow left and went next door, because he
Right.
came in earlier. Came in earlier this year and moved to the one next door and got out of that one.
He went to a bigger building.
Yeah.
Right. So they're
Okay,
converting.
So that's on Cranbrook.
It's the property address is
Right.
is
Oh,
going to
it
be the
is?
one.
All
Yeah.
right. Auto service, medical office.
Right. So they're going to be they're going to be completely remodeling the whole thing. There's going to be
That's
some.
the one that's up on a mound.
We'll see.
Yeah. So it's a full remodel, and they're going to be asking about
They ready to
facade.
go?
They're ready to go.
Well, then put them on. We got 3. Okay.
And I have two. I have one more that didn't make it onto the list because we just forgot
All right.
about it.
What is it?
It's the Mud Bog guys, the mud runs.
Yeah.
Yep, they're back for a modification. If you're open to an administrative approval, we'd like to ask for it. It's a very simple change. They've repositioned the, trying to grab it. They've reoriented the spectator parking. I can pass it around for everyone to take a look if you'd like, so that it's a little bit safer. because they are anticipating it growing a little bit, and they are asking to bring in food. So they know they have to get all the approvals with health department and review of everything. So we can put it on the next agenda. If you are interested in doing an administrative approval, I can pass it around now.
I think they better if it's health department and safety.
What's the date they're going to do this?
April 26th.
No, I'm not thinking of that. I was wondering,
We actually got 3 meetings before that.
yeah, we can do that, but
It'd be good,
I was
April
just
3rd.
trying to, they want to change the location. Last time we had,
What they've done is separated the spectator parking and the participant parking. So the spectator parking will be up near Brainerd Road, so that when a spectator comes in, they'll be very clearly directed into one area, and the participants will be clearly directed in the opposite direction,
yeah,
so
I
that
would
there's no
like-
crossing of paths.
I'd like to have before that's done is have the, I guess, the safety, I don't know, he's not.
We can get all the reviews before it comes
Yeah,
to you guys and
should,
put it on the agenda.
But I don't know who would check safety.
Traffic safety will have, because they are planning to have police officers there for the next event.
Traffic safety would take care of the spectator safety as well?
Yeah, I mean, they'd be following the same division that they had in the plan that was already approved. It's a 35-foot distance with Jersey barriers and.
Well, if you have the same crew, fire, the whole bit, because if they're changing, I really would like to have it reviewed by everybody.
Sure.
Because.
So we'll get all the reviews and we'll put them on the agenda for next meeting.
Yep.
Is that okay to add them, or do we want to?
That's fine, go ahead.
Okay.
We're out of here early tonight, and that shouldn't be too bad. Okay, any sign of that gentleman? Well, let's go ahead. We really don't need him, I don't think. He might want to talk.
We do have a full description of.
Is the gentleman right here has beard?
No, that's Henry. I think that's
Oh, no,
Henry.
you don't know Henry? No,
librarian.
it's a head librarian, okay. Okay. Well, let's move on. There's nothing else to take care of.
I'm sorry.
Can I give you one other business that I forgot earlier?
Sure, go ahead.
I met with Rob this morning. Rob Sparazzo is our GIS guy in IT. And we spent an hour and a half together this morning looking at all the maps. And they already have a map of single-family and duplexes and multifamily for the whole town. So that material you're looking for Thompsonville,
Whoa.
we can move forward.
Oh, well, that's right, all right.
I was very excited about that.
Oh, yeah, that's terrific. That's just what we're looking for.
When are we going to see that?
Actually, Peter should have that.
Planning meeting?
Well, if we can get it all together, hopefully by the next maybe we can bring it to a regular meeting as a workshop discussion item under other business next, because we don't have another planning meeting up until May, so
I
I'd
know, That's why I
rather
asked you.
move it forward faster than that.
Yeah, we got to.
Exactly.
Agenda coming up in April and March, or April and May, I thought you said.
Well, we just added.
Yeah. But you said it was going to get really busy, I thought, the last meeting.
Oh, it will get really busy. But I think we're doing the ARTs are going really well, and I think the application guide is producing a lot higher, level product with a lot more conformance with what we're looking
That's why
for.
I said without him here, we could really go ahead, because you've given us the material.
Yeah, and you'll see with some of the
Okay,
next
so I
ones.
call 1613 SBR, and if the gentleman's here, he's welcome to come up. Engineering had no concerns on it. The health department will have requirements if they go into serving food, and they also had suggestions for their cleansing of their ice material. So under that, I will be adding a condition that was not there, but I'll add it. There'll be an additional condition I have that I would like to propose. School department apparently had no concerns or comments, and the building and grounds had no concerns.
Thank you.
I had one question, whether or not it appears that this is going to be on flat ground or on blocks of some kind. I don't know the material being used or what it was built of, but I would be myself concerned if I was putting timber on, yeah, but I don't know what they are. I don't know what
Isn't
they
it
are.
in our ordinance, or the building ordinance, that if it's more than 100 square feet, it has to have beyond pillars 42 inches down below the frost line?
I don't know.
When I built my shed, I had to, and I had to
Well,
have it
building and
inspected,
grounds
too.
have no concerns, so I don't know.
It's the building department.
I wouldn't set it on the ground myself because of certain animals or bugs that are around. I know there was concerns by the health department about animals getting into the building, mice. So I didn't know if it was going to be on blocks. That's the only thing I would ask him. And the other was that if there was anything going to be left in there all night, because I know the fields in back of Ashnuntuk, they've had some problems with the concession stands that they've had, that they've broken into them. And
Well, they have to put it on blocks of some sort for making it
Level.
level.
oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
It doesn't say that. It doesn't show that.
I know, but they
That's why I wanted to
should.
ask. Okay, that's all.
So that could be something,
So that's all I know is whether it's up
Wouldn't
off
put
the
it on
ground. And if there was anything left in there overnight, and myself, I'd also put a sign on it. If there's nothing in there, they should put a sign out there that there's nothing in here.
well, they are
Because-
planning to store, that's where they're planning to store all of their materials for the league. So I think that is an overnight. We're talking, permanent storage basically for them. For the
Well,
association.
okay.
So all of their bats
Okay.
and balls and cones and everything else that
All
they
right,
need for
well,
practice.
It's their
Well, I
risk,
was thinking of the
Charlie. It's
food.
their
Oh, the
risk.
food.
That, I know, I know, all right. Okay, well, since he's not here and I can't ask him, yeah, it's non-perishable food. I would suggest putting in that the applicant should follow the recommendations of the health department. Just as perhaps as number 11 and move the renumber from there on down,
Let me grab it.
or wherever you should think it should be put. Or the requirements of the health department would be met, however you want to word it.
So is it a general condition that will apply always?
It's a general, yeah,
Okay.
because if they start to serve food, they've got to go back to the health department. So maybe it's requirements of the health department be met.
Do you want to say the recommendations of the health department shall be met?
Fine. Yeah, the recommendations of that.
Because they're not
whichever-
requirements.
Recommendations.
Okay.
Well, they are requirements if they get food.
Right, yeah, and they have no plans according to the
I know they don't,
correspondence.
but eventually they say they do.
Yeah, they would, because they won't have any electricity with this shed,
Well, there are generators around.
right? So requirements with the health department always have to be met.
Yeah, yeah. They have portable generators that somebody could decide they're going to bring in.
Okay. So so requirements of the health department shall be met at all times?
And if there's no requirements, then there's no requirements. But it's there.
Well, it states that only non-perishable food, and there are no plans to use the shed to expand into other projects.
Yeah, but that's not in the requirements. And that is not also implied
Well, you
later
gotta
on.
believe them.
That's in that section, but read the rest of it. There are other sections where it says that if in the future they would like to.
I think we have our applicant.
How about portable barbecues?
No, that's
okay.
under the health department.
Yeah, exactly. That's another possible use.
If you read this one. Okay, I had one question. Is this going to be raised on blocks or something? Just my personal self, I wouldn't put it flat on the ground.
It's going to be flat on the ground. Clotter Farms, whom we're purchasing the building from, with the permission from the town, was going to do the site work.
Right.
I believe that it was digging down 8 inches using crushed stone and then screwing the building into the ground for hurricane support, wind support,
Okay.
to the best of my knowledge.
Are they using pressure-treated lumber on the, oh, okay.
Yeah, the building's
They
pre-constructed.
pressure-treated, right, no, I know that. I was
Okay,
just
sorry.
concerned that termites or other animals there.
Yep.
Okay. One other thing, and I had it added that should you eventually expand into food, that requirements of the health department be met.
Yeah, I spoke with a member from the health
Right.
department.
You don't need anything right now. She gave you suggestions for sanitizing your ice.
Yep.
Okay. Now, is it, you're gonna leave, I didn't know, and Rachel just told us, I had a question if you were gonna leave anything in there overnight, and she said you're gonna have equipment in there.
Yeah, our main focus here is we spend as a league $900 a year to store our equipment in a storage facility off-site. So getting things back and forth, troubling. You need something right away. It's all the way down near Windsor, East Windsor. So it's tough. Ideally, to save the money for the league so that we can continue to put it back into the Eli complex, saving the $900, storing all of our equipment on site at our home would be obviously our best course of action. In turn, other local little leagues have concession stands in a small volume. So we kind of thinking ahead wanted to double
I
it.
think that's great. It just were some concerns on, we've had some of the fields, I guess Powder Hollow has had problems with their break-ins.
Right, which is why we wanted to go with a single entrance building with a door facing the street, most exposure you could possibly get. And I mean, I think most of us are subject to those things.
Unfortunately, I know. And you people are doing such a great job for the kids in town. It's you wonder sometimes. I know the crew, or the baseball league out in back of Ashnuntuk, used those fields, had problems there at one time too.
Yeah,
So,
Thompsonville Little League.
yeah. Okay, well,
Can I add one thing to the record?
yeah.
And I apologize that this didn't get sent to you. This is from the wetlands agent, and it was just, she returned from vacation just on Monday, and I apologize, but I want to just read it to you so you know what everything she said.
Okay.
Okay, and it's in my email, unfortunately, because it didn't get printed, so that's why I'm going to read it off of the phone. So this is
Jenny?
yes.
Okay.
So I understand that there's a proposal to put a shed on the Eli Whitney School grounds for softball use. Our GIS is showing the ball field area as wetlands. Choices are as follows. Soil scientists can be hired to perform wetlands flagging if there's any doubt of the wetland soil. Uncertain of the fees on that. Agent approval can be requested via wetlands application for approvals of sheds of this size because it's smaller than 800 square feet. And there is a fee for $130 to cover that process. And then there is a determination of permit need that could go through the wetlands process. So there are wetlands anticipated in the area, and the disturbance of that 8 inches requires there to at least be the procedure of going through the wetlands process.
So they've got to go through wetlands.
It can be done as an agent approval, the review, because it is something so small. So it would have to go through that prior to finalization.
Yeah, they have to.
And I'm so sorry that
That's
this
all right.
didn't get to you until just now.
That's all right. I'm sorry that I was here and
We
came
have
back.
to. We have to wait for wetlands.
We usually do.
Would a
Can
different
we done it through a condition of approval?
I don't know what the law is though,
Let me check what's
because we
legally required.
never had that. I know we have to.
It's just a product of the,
It's a
and because the
suggestion for revite.
the whole area there
I think
is
we have
wetlands,
to.
we can't move it.
I think we have to by law wait for
Wait for,
wetlands. Yeah, I think because revite is only a suggestion by the council because revite is not a recognized state agent.
right. But since there's the potential of it being an agent approval, I think it is possible. Question is, do you want it to make it a conditional approval upon final approval from the wetlands agent? Otherwise, this is
Do
null
that
and
by
void,
law.
or?
I thought we had
Oh,
to
it has-
wait for their opinion.
That's the question.
Gotcha.
We've always had the certification in front of us,
Okay.
either from the agent or not. And when would their next meeting be?
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to go to the commission. It can be reviewed and processed entirely by
We
Ginny
realize
because
that,
it's so
but
small.
We've always had a note or something from them if it's wetlands.
What's your first intended use of this? What dates?
April 26th,
Thank you.
2014.
When do they meet?
They will next meet on,
Given that, April 26th, when would you have to break ground, if you will, and
Oh,
start?
the installation can be done in one day.
Aha, including
So-
the groundwork.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna Clotter Farms would come in one shot, so they would come the same day to lay the foundation work and then later install the shed permanently in that spot.
right.
Now, the engineering and the public works and all these agencies said they had no problems.
So Ginny looked it over with John, and because it's so flat and we're not talking a
Yeah, I
huge
know, but
area.
He told us they're going to put gravel in there, and the
Right.
Parks and Recs have no problem with the gravel going in?
No issues.
Well, I didn't see, because
And rec is
I'm-
another one we got after the fact, and they had no issues, but we're curious about the positioning of the doorways to prevent foul balls.
Yeah, but that's not my question. When they went to, and you don't have an ART on this,
No.
they don't have on here that's going to go on gravel and so forth. It says pressure treated plywood in the joist, but they were aware that because it's town property, and I'm wondering about the gravel. That's all.
If that was part of the review with,
Yeah, was it?
Gravel or trap rock?
Well, whichever.
Forgive me. Trap rock is the correct terminology.
Okay.
they've reviewed what you've reviewed, so, we can kick it back, I mean, you can kick it back to them and ask for clarification on the trap rock piece.
The trap rock and what was the rest? You were down
Wetlands.
footings. What was the terminology?
The building department, they're not requiring this to be on a foundation below the frost line?
No, because of the 800 square foot, because we're under 800 square feet. They weren't requiring anything other than what I mentioned with, they drill or they screw they wanted the shed anchored to the ground.
Okay.
And it was my understanding that they're putting long screws, I don't know the correct terminology again, for what they were in the shed. I confirmed that with Clotter Farms, that's how they would anchor it to the ground.
Metal screws, not posts or anything.
No, not posts.
Okay.
And they use a specific word that's
They'd have to get
not
'em
coming
out
to
of
me.
there.
I was just trying to look it up.
Piers?
That could be what they were talking about.
Piers.
No, not concrete poured piers.
Okay,
No,
right.
no.
Would you please, with I guess because of the trap rock and the other with whoever is in charge here? It's town property. I don't know.
Yeah, it's been looked at by Matt and the others, it's just you were looking for confirmation about if the trap
If
rock
it's
is.
all right, if the town has no objection to the trap rock and whatever they're anchoring it with.
Okay. So I think it's gonna be buildings and grounds, we'll
Because
double check that with.
that's not in here.
And then wetlands for the wetlands
And then
issue.
we'll get,
You have a
through the
month and a
process with
half.
Ginny
It's a
and-
month and a half before your deadline for getting
Yep.
the thing put in,
Put 'em on
so
as
we have
soon-
time.
Put them on as soon as you can get any confirmation, especially from any of these people, but we need it all from building and grounds. Are they the ones that's Park and Rec?
so Park and Rec, Buildings and Grounds manages the property,
Okay,
all the property maintenance there.
okay, so check with them on whatever they're anchoring it with and the trap rock. Because if they should move the shed, somebody's got to get the trap rock out of there, I would suspect. And wetlands, so wetlands and these building and grounds we need. And then you get those together, put them right on, and you wouldn't really, unless you want to, be here for it.
I was coming to try to answer questions that may have been presented.
Well, I'm glad, yeah, because we wouldn't have known about this Trap Rock or the rest, and I just don't want you to have a problem later on.
No, wait a minute. If you're going to rewrite these conditions, you might want to put in the health department thing that we were talking about, so it's in there next time.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be, wherever you want to put it. And that would take care of it later, because then if he ever came back in and they were moving it all, or adding something, we'd,
It's just defer to the health department.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I,
Like to make a motion to table this till what, our next
no,
meeting?
no, I don't know. Yeah, you can table, or continue.
Continue.
Yeah.
Want to
Continue.
continue
Second.
Continue to the next
this
meeting.
agenda?
To next meeting.
Should be able to get to it in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think we can get,
And I don't know why there's no obvious wetlands in the area, so
It's-
she might be able to sign off on it.
yeah,
Why don't
with
we
some
get
things
two
this
meetings?
size,
We'll
it
keep
can
our
be done
fingers together.
in the office without the
Got
commission.
3 actually before that.
Yeah, right.
Round.
Okay, yeah.
March 18th and April 1st, and then April,
No telling how others get,
15th.
how busy they get, and they want to put them off, so let's
We'll do it as
Get 'em
as soon as we
fit.
can, but we've got
appreciate
time.
Yeah.
let them get it done.
And just if I may, I found the email. The site work from Clotter Farms would include digging 4 to 8 inches deep, depending on the drainage required in the area, and putting crushed stone down first. So, trap rock, crushed stone. I'm not sure the variation between the two. And then anchoring. The specific anchor type is not mentioned, but buildings and the
Buildings and grounds should be able to check it out if they want to.
yeah, and
Let 'em
they
use
mentioned that it needs to be able to withstand 95-mile-per-hour gust of wind, which Clotter Farms said it would be anchored to the ground appropriately,
Great.
per the town's code.
That's building code, yeah.
Building, yeah,
so-
building.
Check that's all we need, is building and grounds and
Engineering,
wetlands.
yeah. So we can start that right away.
Oh, yeah, okay. Motion's on the table, and do we have a second? Okay. Any discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous, 500, and that'll be on as soon as we get that information in. Sorry, weren't aware of a couple of it, but,
No problem.
okay. That's it, I guess. And
Thank you.
notify him of when it's on the agenda, of
Yeah.
course.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay? That's
Glad I
it.
can make it back in time.
Oh, I'm glad. Okay, it was fairly easy. And thank you, and I think it's a great thing that you people do for the kids of the town. It's wonderful that they have a place to go and play.
Thank
It
you.
really is. Yep.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank
See you
you.
tomorrow.
Guys.
Anything else there? Rachel, anything? Before we call it quits?
That is all I've got.
No, motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to, second?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Good.
So Rachel, you're going to have all the stuff we had in our books given back to us? Should I take this book or should I leave it?